Episode 5, His Sacred Armor, Why He Shuts Down, Runs, or Sabotages Love. The Sacred Masculine Reclaimed. Welcome back to the Divine Frequency. In today's episode, we continue our journey of transformation by turning the mirror inward, this time, to the heart of the Sacred Masculine. We've explored the cycles women often face in love and loss, but now we shift the lens to the men. To the ones who have been silenced by stoicism, shaped by trauma, or taught to suppress their softness in the name of strength. To the ones whose hearts carry burdens unseen, who long to be both warriors and healers, leaders and lovers. This episode is a reflection, a reckoning, and a reclamation. We will dive into the core wounds that often shape men's relationships, abandonment, emotional suppression, performance-based worth, and illuminate the path back to presence, purpose, and peace. Because the world doesn't need more men hardened by pain. It needs men made whole by healing. Let us begin. He was told to be strong, but no one asked how heavy his silence became. He was told to provide, but no one wondered what he lost while always performing. Love reaches for him, but his instinct is to run, not because he doesn't care, but because caring was once punished with pain. This is not about blaming men. It's about freeing them. Freeing him from the armor that was forged not in strength, but in survival. This is his awakening. This is the soft unraveling of a soul that longs to be seen, not for what he does, but for who he is. The silent weight he carries. Most people look at a man and see what he does. But very few ask him who he is beneath the roles, the armor, the pressure. From a young age, boys are taught that strength means silence. That emotions are a liability, tears are a weakness, and softness is shameful. So he learns to hide. Not just his pain, but his tenderness, his fears, his need for connection. And then one day, love appears. A real connection. But instead of relaxing into it, he tightens. Why? Because intimacy asks him to be fully seen, and he was never taught that it was safe to be seen. To be seen means risking rejection. To be seen means putting down the armor. And when he's spent a lifetime being rewarded for staying armored, love feels dangerous, even when it's pure. He may not know why he's pulling away. Why he goes cold, sabotages, shuts down, or runs. But deep inside, his nervous system is screaming, "This is not safe." Hide. Retreat. And unless he becomes aware of this internal wiring, he will continue the cycle, seeking love, fearing it, then destroying it. Not because he doesn't care, but because he never learned how to receive what he's always been longing for. Wounded masculinity versus sacred masculinity. There is a difference between being a man and remembering the sacred essence of masculinity. Wounded masculinity is performative. It shouts. It dominates. It hides its insecurity behind status, control, or avoidance. It chases women, but fears intimacy. It demands loyalty, but hasn't learned self-accountability. It seeks validation, because it hasn't found peace within. But sacred masculinity. It doesn't need to chase, prove, or possess. Sacred masculinity stands tall without stepping on anyone. It protects without control, leads without ego, and loves without conditions. A sacred man can hold space for his woman's tears without trying to fix them. He doesn't need to compete with her power, he honors it. He doesn't fear emotions, he masters them. He doesn't collapse in the face of rejection, he remains grounded in his worth. Sacred masculinity is not loud. It's not flashy. It's presence. It's discipline. It's integrity. And when a man begins to walk this path, he stops looking for someone to complete him, and becomes someone who walks beside another in full consciousness. He becomes the sanctuary, not the storm. The presence that calms her nervous system, not triggers it. This is the invitation. Not just to be a man in form, but to embody the soul of a man in truth. When he's not ready for her light. Not every man who meets a radiant woman is ready to hold her light. Her presence may awaken something deep in him, his longing, his forgotten truth, his unhealed wounds. But if he has not yet done the inner work, he will see her not as a mirror, but as a threat. He may begin to withdraw. Or he may try to dim her brilliance. He may crave her warmth, yet resent the way she sees through him. Because to be seen that clearly requires a level of self-honesty that not every man is ready for. Some men will try to possess her, to mold her, to silence her intuition. Not because she is too much, but because he feels like too little in her reflection. A woman rooted in her light does not need fixing. She needs witnessing. And if a man has not yet faced his own shadows, he will not know how to hold space for her storm, her softness, or her sacred fire. He will mistake her emotional honesty for drama. He will label her needs as too needy. And he will walk away, not realizing he has just abandoned the very medicine he claimed to seek. But this is not a failure. It is timing. It is the universe saying, not yet. Because even a good man may not yet be a ready man. And in truth, the light of a conscious woman is not meant to shrink for a man still hiding from his own. The man who rises. There comes a moment in every man's life when he must face the mirror of his own soul, not the mirror of society, not his father's expectations, not the applause of women or the demands of ego, but his own reflection. This is the moment he stops running. The moment he no longer fears the storm inside him, but sits with it. Learns from it. Transmutes it. Because the man who rises is not the man who never fell, he is the one who chose to rise differently. He no longer chases validation. He builds values. He no longer begs to be seen. He sees himself. He walks not in arrogance, but in the quiet strength of one who knows where he's going, even if he must walk alone for a while. The man who rises is not afraid of a woman's fire, because he has walked through his own. He doesn't want to tame her, he wants to understand her. He doesn't want a shadow. He wants a soul beside him. And when he meets her, he does not play games with her heart, because he has already wrestled with his own. The man who rises comes with presence, not performance. He listens. He protects. He builds. Not to impress, but because it's who he has become. His masculinity is not loud. It's grounded. And a woman, who has waited a lifetime to be met in her fullness, will know the difference. The alchemy of sacred union. When a man awakens to his inner value, when he no longer seeks validation from others but walks in the clarity of who he is, something powerful begins to happen. He no longer approaches love from a place of emptiness. Nor does he offer performance in exchange for affection. Instead, he becomes a container, steady, grounded, open, for sacred union to occur. A conscious relationship is not about roles, control, or ego. It is about energetic balance. When a man stands in his truth without needing to dominate, and a woman rests in her essence without needing to prove, the space between them becomes divine. This union is not built on fantasy, fireworks, or fleeting desire. It is forged through mutual growth, emotional maturity, and the courage to be fully seen. In this space, the masculine protects without control, and the feminine surrenders without fear. But this cannot happen until the man leads himself first. He must take full responsibility for his thoughts, actions, and wounds. He must stop blaming the world, or women, for his pain, and instead transmute that pain into presence. For only when the masculine energy is rooted, can the feminine open and trust. And when she does, when she feels safe, honored, and met, a magic unfolds that words cannot describe. This is the alchemy of sacred union, when two souls rise not by completing each other, but by reflecting the divine within one another. This is what love can be when the man shows up not to fix, chase, or control, but simply to be. And in his presence, she remembers her worth. And in her light, he remembers his power. Breaking the mother wound. Reclaiming the inner father. So many men carry an invisible ache, one they rarely name, but often act out in their relationships. It begins in childhood, especially for those raised by a single mother or in a home where the father was absent, passive, or emotionally unavailable. As little boys, they learn to tune into their mother's needs, moods, and emotional shifts, trying to please her, stabilize her, or win her love. And while this may have created survival, it also created distortion. Because the woman they were meant to receive nurturing from became the emotional center of their world. Many boys internalize the belief that love must be earned, approval must be chased, and that their own needs should be suppressed. Fast forward to adulthood, and that same man often enters a romantic relationship not as a grounded partner, but as a boy still seeking to be mothered. He overgives, over-explains, and self-abandons. He mistakes his partner's disappointment for danger. He fears rejection like it's a return to childhood abandonment. But here is the truth: your partner is not your mother. And you are no longer that wounded boy. To heal this wound, a man must consciously separate the past from the present. He must forgive the mother who did her best but could not meet all his needs. He must stop expecting a woman to repair a fracture only the inner father can restore. The inner father is the voice that says, "I see you. I've got you. You are safe. You don't have to perform to be loved." When a man reclaims that voice, when he integrates the protective, grounded, wise masculine within, he stops seeking emotional safety in his partner and begins to offer it. And from that place, everything changes. He no longer reacts to feminine emotion as a threat. He no longer fears being seen as weak. He can hold space for love without collapsing, and that is where true masculinity is born, not from dominance, but from deep inner safety. This is the rite of passage every man must walk if he is to love with clarity, presence, and strength. To stop being the boy who needs a mother, and rise into the man who can co-create love with a woman, not from his wounds, but from his wholeness. Healed men, divine partnerships. What happens when he rises? When a man heals, the entire dynamic of a relationship shifts. He no longer enters love from a place of lack. He no longer needs to be mothered, rescued, or validated. He no longer seeks to possess or control, because he is no longer afraid of being left behind. A healed man leads with presence, not performance. He shows up not to impress, but to build. He doesn't fear a strong woman, he cherishes her. He doesn't compete with her power, he amplifies it. He doesn't silence her truth, he listens to it, because he is secure in his own. In divine partnership, both people stand whole on their own, yet choose to walk together. There is no parent-child dynamic, no wounded ego, no games. There is respect. There is devotion. There is clarity. The healed man does not just provide financial security, he provides emotional safety. He does not just touch her body, he touches her soul. He does not just love her when it's easy, he stands beside her when it's hard. Not to fix her. Not to save her. But to remind her that she is never alone. He sees her not as an object of desire, but as a sacred mirror of his own growth. And she, in turn, honors him not for what he gives, but for who he chooses to be. Together, they create a field where truth can exist without punishment. Where wounds can be held without judgment. Where love is not earned, it is given, freely and fully, because both have done the inner work to be ready for it. This is not fantasy. This is not rare. This is what becomes possible when a man chooses to face himself, to heal what his father could not, and to love in the way he was never shown. He breaks the cycle, not just for himself, but for the generations after him. And that, my beloved brother, is what makes him unforgettable, not just to her, but to the world. A letter to the awakening man. To the man listening, you, who has been told to toughen up, to man up, to hold it all in. You, who learned early that feelings made you weak, that tears were shameful, that silence was strength. This is your reminder that none of that was ever true. You were never meant to be a fortress. You were never meant to be numb just to be noble. You were never meant to shrink, ache, or carry it all alone. The boy inside you, the one who wanted to be seen, to be loved, to be held without conditions, he is still there. And he does not need to be buried in order for the man to rise. He is the foundation of your wholeness, not a flaw to be erased. You are allowed to feel. You are allowed to unravel. You are allowed to put down what was never yours to carry. Real masculinity is not in domination, suppression, or control. It is in devotion. It is in presence. It is in standing tall without needing to shout. It is in knowing your worth without needing someone to validate it. You do not need to earn love by abandoning yourself. You do not need to sacrifice your peace to be chosen. You are already enough, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. And if you grew up trying to please a mother who was never truly at peace, if you became the emotional caretaker too early, and now find yourself drawn to partners who mirror that pain, it is not your fault. But it is your opportunity to rewrite the pattern, to refather yourself, to love without rescuing, to lead without losing your center. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be present. And when you begin to show up fully for yourself, the world, the women, the work, it all begins to align. Your softness is not weakness. Your heart is not a liability. It is your greatest compass, your most sacred fire. So rise, brother. Not for applause. Not to be chosen. But because you finally chose yourself. Let the world see what a healed man looks like. Let your future children feel what safety truly means. Let the love you give be a reflection of the peace you've created within. And above all, let your life be a living reminder that real kings don't rule from the throne, they lead from the soul. The sacred masculine reclaimed. When a man begins to see himself not through the eyes of the world, but through the truth of his soul, everything changes. No longer does he chase approval, overextend, or collapse to be loved. He stands rooted, aware, calm in the storm. He no longer sees love as something he must earn through sacrifice, but as something he must embody through presence. To the men listening, this is your call to rise, not in hardness or resistance, but in clarity, direction, and devotion to your path. And to the women listening, this is your invitation to witness the sacred return of the awakened masculine, not to be fixed, but to be honored. This was never about becoming perfect. It was about becoming whole. And as we close this chapter, we open a new one. Because healing is not the end. Love is not just about breaking patterns, it's about building something beautiful in their place. So in the final episode of this series, episode 6, we will rise into the vision, the foundation of lasting love, building the relationship you deserve. Together, we will explore what a conscious, spiritually aligned, emotionally mature relationship truly looks like. One built not on attachment or survival, but on resonance, respect, freedom, and flow. A love where both souls are seen, both hearts are safe, and both lives expand. You are not here to beg for love. You are here to remember who you are, and from that place, invite the kind of love that reflects it. This is the divine frequency where we awaken, we heal, and we rise, together.